our lives and new horizons explore. UTech stands to point the way to make a future secure. University of Technology, Jamaica. We will always sing in praise of you, and the knowledge you give teaches us how to live. So to UTech we'll always be true. You teach us to give of our best, to lend a hand to inspire,
to answer where duties call, and to get higher and higher.
Wherever life shall lead us, your banner will be unfurled, as we proudly stand to serve our nation and the wide world. University of Technology, Jamaica. We will always sing in praise of you, and the knowledge you give teaches us how to live. So to UTech we'll always be true.
You sing the chorus.
University of Technology, Jamaica. We will always sing in praise of you, and the knowledge you give teaches us how to live. So to UTech we'll always be true, and the knowledge you give teaches us how to live. So to UTech we'll always be true.
The Most Honorable Edward Seaga, former Prime Minister of Jamaica and Chancellor of the University of Technology, Jamaica. Mr. Richard Powell, Pro-Chancellor of the University of Technology, Jamaica. Mr. Ali McNabb, Council Member. Ms. Dorcas White, Senior Tutor Emerita of the Norman Manley Law School. Members of the Diplomatic Corps. Mrs. Mercedes Dean, University Registrar, Deans, Vice Deans, Heads of School, members of faculty and staff, UTech Jamaica alumni, other specially invited guests, students, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I extend a warm welcome to everyone. Minister of Flavor Williams. The University of Technology, Jamaica is honored to be hosting our Chancellor and former Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Edward Seaga, for this distinguished public lecture on the topic, The Origins and Development of Jamaican Music. We are happy that Mr. Seaga has kindly accepted our invitation to deliver this lecture as part of the special activities being hosted by the university in this our 60th anniversary year. Chancellor, we are very much looking forward to your lecture, which we anticipate will be a veritable history lesson, charting the development of music as an important aspect of brand Jamaica. We look forward to learning more about your own contribution to shaping the development of Jamaican music over the last 50+ years. Ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged today to hear from a man who really needs no introduction. However, before our Chancellor delivers his lecture, permit me to share with you just a summary from his vast profile. Mr. Seaga was a music producer probably before he took a keen interest in Jamaican politics. He founded his own record label, West Indies Recording Limited, WIRL, in the late 1950s, and among his first signings was the Trenchtown singing duo of Joe Higgs and Roy Wilson. WIRL scored a huge hit in 1959 with their first single, Manio, a single that sold 30,000 copies. Mr. Seaga's other artists included Byron Lee and the Dragonaires, and Slim Smith. Byron Lee actually bought Mr. Seaga's record label in 1968. One historian notes that the legacy of Edward Seaga's musical activity, both directly and indirectly, can be found in virtually every record store in the United States, Europe, and Asia. Mr. Seaga was born in 1930, the son of Philip George and Ernest Seaga. He was educated at Woolmer's Boys' School, the second best school in Jamaica, and at Harvard University, Boston, USA. As a young man, Mr. Seaga quickly became noticed for his honest speech and for his vision for Jamaica's development. At age 29, he became the youngest appointee to the Legislative Council in Jamaica, later renamed the Senate. An invitation to politics in 1959 by Sir Alexander Bustamante, founder of the Jamaica Labour Party, marked Mr. Seaga's significant contribution to the independence of Jamaica in 1962. He became a key architect of the Constitution that became the framework for Jamaica's independence. In 1962, Mr. Seaga was elected as the Member of Parliament for Western Kingston. He set a record by retaining that constituency for 40 consecutive years as the longest-serving Member of Parliament in Jamaica. His achievements are too numerous to list in full, but I'll mention a few. He is as passionate about politics as he is about economic and cultural matters. This saw him being instrumental in the forming of several important Jamaican institutions, among them the Urban Development Corporation, UDC, in 1968, the Jamaica Stock Exchange in 1969, the Jamaica Unit Trust in 1970, the Jamaica Mortgage Bank in 1973, the Jamaica National Investment Promotions Limited, now JAMPRO, the National Development Bank, 1981, the Agricultural Credit Bank, 1981, the Exim Bank, 1986, the Jamaican Students Loan Bureau, HEART, the Human Employment and Resource Training Program, 1983. Mr. Seaga is also credited with the creation of the Jamaican Festival and the establishment of the Craft Development Company, Things Jamaica, among other cultural institutions. We could almost say if Mr. Seaga did not establish it, it wasn't established. Edward Seaga became the leader of the JLP in 1974. In 1980, he became Prime Minister and served until 1989. He was to remain in opposition thereafter until retirement from political office in 2005 at the youngish age of 75. He has authored several books and other publications and received numerous honors and awards locally and internationally in recognition of his achievements. And if you haven't read it, I recommend that you read Revival Cults in Jamaica, one of Mr. Seaga's early works published in the Jamaica Journal. In his retirement, he remains just as active in Jamaican life, in education, in politics, and in culture. He serves as Distinguished Fellow of the other place and Chancellor of the University of Technology, Jamaica, and is a Fellow of the Institute of Jamaica. Mr. Seaga's lecture today is set within the context of his commemorative musical book box set collection, Reggae Golden Jubilee 50th Anniversary, The Origins of Jamaican Music, launched in 2012 to coincide with Jamaica's 50th independence celebrations. In the collection, Mr. Seaga has handpicked 100 of the most significant songs to emerge from Jamaica. It is therefore my pleasure to invite Mr. Seaga to deliver his lecture on the origins and development of Jamaican music. Ladies and gentlemen, the Most Honorable Edward Seaga, ONPC.
Thank you very much, and I must say that with the length of the presentation I'm going to make in music, I would prefer to skip the acknowledgements of all who are here on the basis that they have already been acknowledged by the President. However, I have to acknowledge the presence of the President, the Pro-Chancellor, and Minister of State, Favour Williams, in the Ministry of Finance, and all members who are here. Now, in the introduction by the President, he gave you a fair amount of my activities and achievements in the period in which I was in a position for a political career. But that's not where I would like to go this evening. I'm glad that he did so because it's complementary. The fact of the matter is that the most important part of my learnings, most important part of my development came before. At any rate, what I wish to say was that I have two lives. I had the pre-political life and I had the political one. Looks like I'm on the BBC. The fact of the matter is that, and I'm just giving you a little background in this respect, I left Wolmer's to attend college at Harvard, partly because it happens to be the city in which I was born, which was Boston. But not only that, it happens to be in Cambridge, which is a suburb of Boston, which is where Harvard is located. But also because of its magnificent achievements in scholastic work, and I wish to participate in that. But I didn't have a smooth sailing there because I went to study atomic physics. Don't ask me why. The atom bomb had just exploded. This is 1948. And midway, I said, no, this is not for me. I didn't like it because all I was doing is reading books on what people had done already. I said, no, I want to do something where I write the books and let them follow me. So I switched to social science, mostly sociology and anthropology. And that was where I struck gold. Because although I was destined, according to my mother's wishes, to be a doctor, and this is no disrespect to doctors, I didn't want to be a doctor. And I spent about 3 months in what you call the other place. And I left. Because in that 3 months I discovered a library there that had a lot of the textbooks that I had used when I was studying sociology and anthropology. And I said, this is what I want to do more of it. So I decided I was now going to leave the classroom in those two subjects and go out into the field to do sociology and anthropology. It wasn't a happy decision for my parents, who thought I was going to be doing something that I could hang up a shingle in. But this was a case of me because this is what I wanted to do. So I decided to find a little village where I could practice in terms of doing the research work of the life of the people of that village. And that was a village of 300 people in the foothills of between Bogwalk and Linstead. Very, very pretty little village and very nice view, climate and everything. So I resided there for nearly a year, and then I moved on to the West Kingston area to reside in an area behind the Coronation Market called Salt Lane. These gave me a very rounded look at Jamaican life in the cultural and social areas. And I add cultural because I wasn't in there for that purpose, but it came upon me. And it gave me that rounded life that I could fully appreciate what Jamaican life was, in all its glory and in all its failures. But what it also did for me was to show me that there was another life. I'm one of those who were fortunate to grow up in the uptown area. But that wasn't all. And when I went to live among the poor and to reside there, not to just go in and go out, reside in the community, it told me that this was another type of life. And I fell in love with it because the people were so honorable, they were so happy in their undertakings, and they were so friendly in our acquaintance. In the West Kingston area, I studied Jamaica's African-based religions, which I just pause and say, many people seem to cast aside as the only African-based thing that we don't want. That's not good. Not good. And I'll tell you why in the music. So I spent 3 years in all in doing the studies that I wanted to do. And then I left to go to the University of London to pursue advanced degrees because this university here did not have those faculties yet available. I spent another 3 months there and left. I said to myself, what am I really doing here? I've already done 2 substantial studies, one in psychology, one in anthropology, and one in sociology. I have the data, I want to write it now. Well, why am I going to listen to what's happening in Fiji and so on? So I decided to shortcut the thing. I said, let me get back home and get to work. And when the university comes up with the appropriate faculties, I'll see if at that time I should be involved. So having done so, the wealth of knowledge that I got from those 2 experiences were so remarkable that I yearned to make it known to the people of Jamaica. I yearned to make them understand what life among the poor was, what life among the people who are creative in basis, what life among people who are there to try their best to make a living, but not really succeeding to the extent we want. And so after recognizing this, and also the collection of music that I made, I said to myself, I have to find some platform on which to deal with these matters. And that was why I took on politics. That is why I took on political activity. I've never studied politics. I've never studied government. I've never studied all the other things that go with that, history and so on. I just had a feeling. My learning came through feelings, not from here. And I found it was a wonderful decision because it gave me a chance to put into operation in the very first decade of independence a number of schemes that I had been able to prepare before I became an active politician, out of the life that I was living. That's where the festival came from. That's where Things Jamaican came from. That's where the cultural activities of Devon House came from. That's where I will go on because I put all of those into effect in the decade, that decade, a very rich decade in culture. But I had a head start because I had been tutored by the people around me. And I told them that. They asked me, you don't come to grow anything, you don't come to be a parson, you don't come to be a teacher. What you do there? So I said to them, I come to study you. And they said, So I thought I better start at the top, and I spoke to the head teacher. I said, I'm here from the university. He knew what a university was, not a lot of it, but enough to be able to understand what it is. And he endeavored to make the people understand what I was there to do, to study the life of the people of Jamaica. Not just the poor, the people of Jamaica. And so we got on fabulously after that. It was a little rough starting up, because I had a little black car my father gave me to travel from Buxton Town, where I was, to Kingston from time to time. And I used to carry a bag of sweets with me, because a lot of little children would be seen in the walkways, the pathways of the village, and I would stop and give them some sweets. Until one day everything just cut. No children, nobody talking to me. And I asked the lady whose home I was taking meals in, what's the problem? She said, I'm saying, you're a black art man. I said, what is a black art man? She said, a man who drives a little black car and give out sweets. So rather than giving up that life of black car and the sweeties, I decided to do some conversion. And I used the black car to take a boy, drop off a coconut tree to the hospital. I took teachers and little children to an agricultural fair and that sort of thing. And so after 2 months we became very friendly, knowledgeable and understanding each other. It was a wonderful stay. I wish I could have stayed much longer, but they gave me a going away party which I will never forget. In West Kingston, I came upon names that I knew in terms of the areas of study and activity, the revival movement. And I wanted to study it because I'm a Church of England man. I wouldn't like to say that too openly because they would wonder where I am. But nonetheless, that's where I'm registered. When I came back to Jamaica from Boston, I was 3 months old. And my parents, who were from Jamaica, registered me for baptism, or what you call it, confirmation. Not confirmation, I forgot the other word. Yes. And in the Church of England, the parish church, because my father was born just down the road. He was born at where the Supreme Court is now. So it was nice and easy. And I knew what that kind of religion was. But when I started to experience the other type of religion, the music, the beats, the rhythm, the hands clapping, the way that you sing without a hymn book, because everybody knows every hymn. When I started to experience all those things, I said, boy, this is for me. This is for me. And so I went on to have a complete study of that. And some of it has spilled over into the music. Well, enough of my background. Let's talk about the music now. The mission that I had at that time was to, as I say, Jamaicanize Jamaica. Because it wasn't a single place. Jamaica is more than one set of people. And my interest was to Jamaicanize it to the extent that I could. And in putting on the festival, I was able to draw people of all walks of life to participate. And one of the reasons why that happened is because I never set up any rural area and said, this person must be the person who is going to lead this area, or that person. I said, pick your own people. I didn't ask for any political response. And everybody picked their own people, and everybody enjoyed it, and it came out extremely well. What it did, though, was to give me an opportunity to show on a platform what Jamaican music was, what Jamaican dance was, what Jamaican storytelling was, etc., and a lot of other activities that we added. And that was part of the mission that I had. But when I got into the field of music, I realized something was wrong. Music has a long history. We can't go back in that. We don't know how far back it goes as Jamaican. It is mostly a mix of various African types of music that came here with the people who were now slaves. So it didn't have a name. If it did have a name, they would call it the Mayal. It didn't have a set of music because it's different in different areas. But over the years, we came to the point where we had something that developed as folk music, which everybody could enjoy because they were all part of a folk society now. And I was reading a book I had just recently in preparation for this. And I was interested in seeing that in the 1900s, early 1900s, Hole Him Joe, Donkey Want Water, different folk music that we know now were then part of what was being taught and what was being practiced. So it's a stream that moves without any effort into the mento, and from the mento into a more popular type of mento in the 50s. But while that was going on in the 50s, something else was happening. People had no radios. They weren't able to hear music. Then the small radios came along with the digitization process, the little hand radios. And they started to be able to listen to music that was being relayed, especially at nights, from the United States South. And that was one of the root musics, types of music, that we started with. There were many types. There was rock and roll, there was jive, there was all kinds of things. But rhythm and blues was where we found a niche. And so our music here had become very strong because of that and because of farm workers coming back from the United States, bringing a huge stereo system on their shoulders, which they set up at home, and because of sound systems. Not everybody had a jukebox type on their shoulder, but the sound systems was a brilliant idea because it was powerful, strong enough, and everybody could get together. And so you had a new awakening to what Jamaican music was. And it was like that for years, until Jamaicans realized that they could do it too. They could compose. They could find the melodies. And that started towards the end of the 50s, early 60s, when Jamaican popular music was born. It wasn't born with a different rhythm. It was rhythm and blues. You will hear a little of that at the beginning of the records I'm going to play. Recordings, rather. And to that extent, there was something missing. And that something that was missing was something that was truly Jamaican. That's what I wanted. I was in the record business at that time. I was the agent for Columbia Records, which was the largest recording company in the world. But what I wanted was Jamaican music. Popular Jamaican music, because we had the folk music already. The first tune that came out was a Jamaican tune. You will hear it, with Jamaican words, Jamaican melody. The second or third, and I'm not too clear in this, that was issued was my own, not composition, my own song that I produced. Vere Johns was at that time someone dealing with the press and a journalist. And he used to have a competition that went around the country, selecting from each competition the two best acts. And then in the end, they would have a runoff and that sort of thing. And it was very popular, very popular. And what I saw when he was doing that was a source of determining which songs are really acceptable by the people. And I found that Manio was one of those. So I called the composers and I called the singers together and I said, I want to record this song. And I offered them a fee for doing so, which was a little odd because nobody was offering anybody any fee at that time. So we agreed, did the song, and it was a song that was well accepted. Now, I'm supposed to be able to wink off the man who's doing the records. But you put him behind me and I don't know. Let's have the first one. To play the full length of any of these songs. There's 33 of them, 1/3 of what is in this album here, the 100. I'll just pick them according to what we want to learn. That was not a Jamaican tune in terms of the rhythm, etc. In lyrics, yes, but it was rhythm and blues. And then we moved, not into the Jamaican tunes directly, but we went through a little period of, I'm very sorry I haven't played Manio. Now, that was more Jamaican than the one before, but it still wasn't, it was another rhythm and blues song. And before I go to the real Jamaican item, I want to introduce a little intrusion that came into the music from people who have always loved music, the Rastafarians. And they gave us a song called "O Carolina." I'm going to play something for you. That gives us the entry point to the real Jamaican material. At the same time, that real Jamaican material wasn't in terms of the song, but the rhythm, the performance. It's called "Wash Wash" by Prince Buster.
Cross and wash all my troubles.
closer to where we're going. Except that the tune is not Jamaican, it's an old spiritual. But the creativity of the person who was a singer, Prince Buster, in putting it in that model of singing, in bringing to it the rhythm, in bringing to it the interjections that he makes, made a totally different sound. But it made Jamaicans know that we have a rich reservoir of music from spiritual areas, from folk areas that we can draw on. And there's one that I'm going to play just a little for you because it's well known. You don't really need to hear it all, but it's just to tell you that some of it came from the rural areas as well. Sammy Dead by Eric Mountain Morris. Well, that's just to explain to you that this isn't a one-sided thing. It's not an urban thing. It's not an inner city. It's from all over Jamaica. Now, the next piece brought out some true Jamaican situations. Derek Morgan was a singer who was produced by Prince Buster as a producer. And they were doing very well, but then Morgan decided to change to another producer who happened to have been Chinese. And Prince Buster decided to lash him with a song, Blackhead Chinaman. I'm not going to play two of them because we don't have the time. But I'm playing for you Derek Morgan's response, Blazing Fire.
Yeah. Nikan Muzat. Who said it? Blazing fire. Unminded people at one hand, you watch the other. But when I hold it, I will let hold it up there. If I let others live, and your days will be much longer. Say blazing fire.
Okay, get ready. This music was very popular in a city, downtown, rural areas. It wasn't popular up here. And if I was to follow my mission, I wanted it to be popular both places. But I got some help, enormous help, when Millie Small sang My Boy Lollipop. I've given you 3 examples before I make my pronouncement. There is the basis of the ska. You can hear the rhythm, very pronounced, very strong, and it came from different areas. And so it moved on a bit more throughout the 60s until a change came. But in doing so, let me play for you an instrumental from an outstanding instrumental band, Scatterlights, Occupation. I don't mind if you want to dance, you know. They used to call me Seaga. Time to change, moving into a different era. Late 60s. The frenzy nature of the ska cooled down. And it wasn't by design. It was an odd occasion in a recording studio in which the music wasn't being played, the accompanying music wasn't being played at the level of rhythm that the singer wanted. But this softer beat and the slow pace was something that sounded attractive, so he continued. And out of that came the rock steady. And we hear it now from Alton Bellis. We could never do Rocksteady without playing that record. At the same time, we couldn't do Rocksteady without talking about our little friend who migrated early during the Israelites, Desmond Dekker. And I'll tell you something before I put that on. It became a huge hit on both sides of the Atlantic. Not only because it was a good song, but because all of the Jewish people thought it was referring to them. And they bought the record. And it became a hit that has been remembered for a long time. Desmond Dekker, Israelites.
Up in the morning, saving for breakfast, so that every mouth can be fed. Oh, me Israelites are. Get up in the morning, saving for breakfast. centuries ago. I don't want to end up like Bonnie and Clyde. Oh, Israelite. After a sound, there must be a song. If you catch me in the palm, it's on your hand now. Oh, Israelite.
Rocksteady did not enjoy a long run. Competition was building up, but it produced some very lovely music. And Desmond Dekker was only one of many. There's another piece that's of a different nature, but still one that is classified as rocksteady. It is Sweet and Dandy by the Maytals. Well, I'm going to pause here for 1 second or 1 minute to tell you that we succeeded in making that music Jamaican music. We succeeded because RJR wouldn't play it. But when JVC was started, we persuaded JVC to start to play some of that music on the air. And they even had a section of it for the youngsters called Teenage Dance Party. I succeeded in getting Baron Lee to come to my constituency where this was part of the heartland of this music. And I had at my headquarters a large space, and every evening a band called the Techniques, which I started, would be practicing. And he came down there and heard the sound, and I could see what his face looked like. Went straight to back. He used to play at all the Saturday night dances at the Uptown Youngsters Theatre. So that's the best place to put it. And that happened. And it became very popular uptown. And that, together with Millie Small's help and Desmond Decker's help, both of whom triumphed abroad, made people say, well, you know, if it's popular abroad, it must be popular here. And so we got a national music. We're now going to look at stepping back a little and stepping forward. This is the second CD, there are 4 of them. This one is one of my favorites, and it has to do with the DJ rhythm and the toasting, as they call it, of singers by DJs. And that started in the early 50s, when a man who had a sound system went out to buy ice, because they don't charge for you to come in, but you have to buy drinks So he wanted ice to sell the drinks. And while he was out, the person who was running the sound system, Count Machuki, he called himself, started to toast the song that was being run, and the people liked it. And from there they got the idea that this was something that should be promoted. But unfortunately, it wasn't, because it was overtaken by rhythm and blues and ska and so on. So it came back to us now at the beginning of the end of the 80s as the DJ rhythm, with Roy, the top man in that area.
70s.
Huh?
End of the 70s. 70s.
No, 60s.
60s.
Yeah. We just finished the 60s. This is the end of the 60s now. So the beginning of the 70s, is that what I said? Oh, sorry. At the beginning of the 70s, late 80s, late 60s, Roy gave us 3 records, all of which ranked 1, 2, 3 on the hit parade. All of which. I want to go and play one. It's called Wear You to the Ball by Roy and the Paragons. We're going into a serious period now, the turbulent 70s. And I picked one song out of the 70s because it described what was happening and how people felt all around. Not uptown and downtown only, but everywhere. Ernie Smith's The Power and the Glory.
And as we fight one another for the power and the glory in glory, justice of roses, waste. We the people walk the road, just where we going. Right now we hands are tied behind the grass, while certain people give and watching. Where do we stand? We have too far to go, not to really know just how we get in the earth. And if we're getting anywhere, we have too much to change, not to know the limits of possibility and changeability. Violence and crime is commonplace.
Let's pick up the DJ rhythm again that came out of the last record, you Roy, and go to a unique DJ rhythm and something that started a whole new movement, rubber dub style, Michigan and style.
Outside, dynamite, respect me and pride. It's alright, boy. Just very quiet country. Very quiet country. Say how does it rubber dub dough? And I say how does it rubber dub dough? Say with the panic side and the jade and the you make me feel alright, yeah. Somebody don't make me feel alright, yeah. Oh, watch out, man. Cause it's a music like her from a double accent. Say music like her from a double accent. Say nothing ever nice like a version one. Say nothing ever nice like a version one. Cause it's a hit, it's a number now.
Well, it's not my duty to. It's not my duty to apologize for the system, but it's much better than that. These are two young KC boys that entered the field while they were KC. Let's move on with the same DJ rhythm in a different variation. I'm getting married in the morning, Yellow Man.
Do you take this man for your lawful husband? Yes, I do. And do you take this lady for your lawful wife? Yes, I do. I'm getting married in the morning. Laying down here in the church bell ring. She had me yellow baby, and I'm gonna mind it. So take me to the church on time. What do they want?
DJ now.
You think I'm sexy? Johnny the girl reach out and touch me. If you really need me, Johnny the girl reach out and tell me. And give me a loving, give me a loving. Don't forget about the all-night squeezing. Don't forget about the hugging and teasing. I'm getting married in the morning. Ding dong, you hear the church bell ring. She had me yellow baby, and I'm gonna mind it. So take me to the church on time. But you know, say on my way me I go a Vatican. On my way me I go a Vatican. Me fuck up me wife when named Susan. Say that me husband a biggest love son. If you ever change your mind, I'm leaving behind. Say, bring it to me, bring your sweet loving, bring it along to me, yeah, yeah, yeah. Say that my wife is a part of me life, my wife is a part of me life.
I don't want you to get too emotional about that, because the next one is not in that age group. I know where all you people coming from now. The next one is a little kiddie show. When I started up the Techniques band in West Kingston, they made a hit song and they migrated to London to join the group. One of them had two musical young people, and they found another three over there, and they formed themselves into the musical youth. And having done so, they made a song which was a big hit in Jamaica before, and it comes out of the Rasta tradition as well. Pass the Kuchi. I don't call it Dutchie. Over there, them call it Dutchman's Coochie.
This generation rules the nation with version. Music answer the full of love. Songs to really make you rub and scrub. Don't believe, don't believe, don't believe, I say, pass the touchy on the left hand side. Pass the touchy on the left hand side. Give me the music, make me jump around. Give me the music, make me jump around.
Cool and lonely, breezy afternoon.
How does it feel when you got no food?
Feeling 'cause it was the month of
How does it feel when you got no food?
So I left my gate and went out for a walk.
How does it feel when you got no food?
As I passed through the dreadlocks camp, I heard them say,
How does it feel when you got no food?
pass the touchy on the left hand side. Pass the touchy on the left hand side.
Give me the music, make me jump round. Give me the music, make me jump in the
So I stopped to find out what was going on.
Okay, I'm going to take in a little direction now that is different. Bob Marley had just died a couple of years before. Can you hear me at the back? If you say that, you mean you're not hearing. Okay, the great Bob Marley died, as you all know, in 1981. And reggae started to fade. He was the one who kept reggae alive through the 70s. Not in Jamaica. He took up his residence in London and all over Europe. He was giving shows, and in England. And the music was coming back here. And that's what made him great. Whenever he came home, he had a huge concert because people knew him, people wanted to hear more about him, the type of music he was singing, with the morals behind the story, etc. But that music was going down. So the DJ music was beginning to replace it. But we're going to jump away from the DJ music for a little while. Because I see some of you rocking and wishing it was your husband or boyfriend beside you. So I'm going to introduce you to 3 or 4 records of that type of music. Melodious, romantic, whatnot. To show you that we can do everything. And in our way. Freddie McGregor started recording when he was 6 years old with the Clarendonians. That group didn't stay too long, but he continued his music. And I think it was worthy of us to let us hear Freddie McGregor's Push Come to Shove.
Tell me what you doing right now, boys, when you wish everybody wants to lay on the knees for loving you, for loving you. When you wish everybody wants to lay on the knees.
Well, we're going into some deep love now. Especially for 2 people in the audience who have been watching. Love Has Found Its Way by Dennis Brown.
Love has found its way in our hearts today. Love has found its way in our hearts today.
Well, we're going into the deepest area of love now. And I bet you none of you know this one. Little Cottage in Negril by Tyrone Taylor. That one, for me, creates pictures. It creates a picture of the Negril beach, the Negril community. I bought Negril for the government. I was down there on a holiday, which I don't usually take, but my wife insisted, and after a while I got tired of the holiday. So I jumped in the car and started to roam around. And I came to a point where the beach stopped and there was nothing but mangroves. So I said the beach couldn't just stop here like that. So I saw a man walking and I said to him, "What is behind those mangroves?" He said, "Well, you don't know." I said, "No." He said, "Come man, come." He jumped in the car. Took me up to a little driving track. I drove the car in. My God, what a beach. Bloody Bay. There's just nothing like it. I can't find anything like it in the world. And nothing was on it. Nobody, no buildings, nothing at all. The buildings all stopped in Long Bay. I was so thrilled with seeing this thing. I said, "Buddy, don't worry about me. Take off my clothes and I jump in the water." Only thing I forgot when I come out, I didn't have any towel. And I went back, I asked him, "Who own all this land here?" He said, "Mr. Ivan McLeod." I said, "Really? Don't know the man, but where he live?" He said, "See the little bump over there? That is his house. He's over there right now." So that afternoon I dressed and I went over to see him, and he was there in a rocking chair, rocking away, elderly man. And I said to him, "Mr. McLeod, this is a wonderful place, you know, and I would like Jamaicans to know about it and to enjoy it. The government would be interested in buying it from you." He said, "Yes. How much?" I said, "Well, I'm not going to set any price with you, and you're not going to set any with me. We get a valuator to come in and check it out." We did, and I bought it, 6,000 acres. 6,000 acres. Today you can't recognize it. But that Negril episode in my life was something that was extraordinary to me. So we're finished now, 2/3 and a bit more. That Dennis Brown song, by the way, Dennis Brown was a youngster in my constituency. And from 9 years old, he was in the music business. This one is called Under My Sling Thing. Now I know I can speak patois as good as anybody else, but I don't know what slang thing is. And everybody I ask them give me a different version. I say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take the chance. I don't know what it is. But it came about because a young man by the name of Wayne Smith bought a Casio keyboard and started to play on it. And he found that by that Casio keyboard he could get all the accompaniment that he wanted for singing. And of course that was a great move for people who were recording and didn't want to bother with a band here and a guitar man there and somebody else, and nobody asking you for raise a pay, and nobody say have to take leave and all that. Just, you're there, switch it on. And he created this song Under My Sling Thing. And after that, everything just broke open. The rhythm has created more than 400 different songs in Jamaica. And it was one of those periods of time in which Jamaican music really flourished. So let me have Under My Sling Thing, whatever that is. Well, you might not appreciate it as much as you have with the other item, but this was the basis of the crossover from the DJ music into dancehall. Because if you have people that can make up songs that they say is dancehall, which, tell you the truth, you clap two pieces of tin together, you go in the water and bubble, and you go to a studio the next day and say, how about you? And you have to have something better than that. So this one brought something more educational to the dancehall music. And it did extremely well. Now, Greetings is a song that everybody should know, because everybody is greeting one another. So let's hear it from Half Pint. And he was really half pint about that. next song is something I hate. Because this guy arrived in 1988 and mashed up a whole lot of things I was doing. Whole lot. He was the worst visitor we ever had to Jamaica. And yet somebody composed a song about him, Wild Gilbert.
Loving the earth.
Wild Gilbert, come on! No we can shut the hand in your back. Wild Gilbert, wants to come in the room. See what's on in the room. The people that have plans to see such and the issue and the ways. Come now, pull us to me dish. Anybody pull us to me something like this. Pull us to me dish. We would like to express our sympathies to those affected by Gilbert. Wild Gilbert was a coming in the room. See what's on in the room. The little bit of love to see such fun and the dish one away with the spoon. Come on, pull us in the dish. Anybody pull us in the something like this. Pull us in the dish. Anybody pull us in the something like this. Dish take off like fine salsa. The roof like grapes without a visa. Bedroom full of water. The in and the dark no light no water. A true we don't have no generator. But the cold gear cost $10. The fish and meat mix mine in the freezer. Like your bully beef full of instruction. Full of bully beef. We can have it. So we full of bully beef.
He didn't reach the part where the Rasta man that was there said, Doja, wash out them house. Now we come back to love affairs. And a very popular love affair in Jamaica. Twice my age. Shabba Ranks and Christoph. Very popular. Shabba scored a play.
What this girl thinking? The one of the days of the man. I don't know her still, but God she's thinking about the damn. No.
I'm in love with a man nearly twice my age.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is, but it's a hit for my youthful days. As I go my way, I don't care what people say. I'm in love with a man nearly twice my age.
I go to me. I go to me. She was a mother that for the royalty. The I go to me, you know, say that money, she don't wanna know about money. She want the money, she don't wanna know about money. She want the money.
Well, I tell you girls in my youthful days, I never loved another man in my age. And never done he came along, made me smile all the while. He stood tall and strong, so strong.
That is not sex. She wants a man till it has provoked and true. She wants to feel like Bill and Red Hand. You know you're talking about things in the minutes and don't feel like the pocket of the ambulance. Make sure say that you know that's a bit full of strength.
Stood up for me when no one cared.
I'm going to make a break into a very melodious tune sung by one of Jamaica's best melody singers. A Good Thing Going by Sugar Minott.
She
God, it must be Obia, that one. Well, we're on the last lap now, so those of you who bring pajamas, put it away, you're not going to need it. Putting up resistance, there is Hammond. Had to put him in there. Murderer by Buju Banton.
I see them lying words. Stand right there. But yeah, I know why I sing. It's love. Murderer, love is on your shoulder. Kill like today, you cannot kill like tomorrow. Murder, I must see alone. How does it feel to take the life of another? Murderer, throw them on your shoulder. Kill like today, you cannot kill like tomorrow. Murder, your inside must see alone. How does it feel to take a life? You can hide from man, but not your conscience. Who know you be ready to follow with the wine of violence and look yourself to be conquered by the serpent. Disobey the first commandment. Walk through the valley, right fear no pestilence. That is my witness, and even my evidence. Lift up my eyes from whence cometh death. They could have never escaped this your judgment. Throw them on your shoulder. Kill like today, you cannot kill like tomorrow. Your inside must be hollow. How does it feel to take a life? I tell you no. All man are created equal, but behind the trigger it's a different sequel. Some are murder people, just sit and let me now start coming dirty acts. See the eye of the shine, you could have washed your head. Anything you can't wash no more, it is like the head. Everything you can't find.
Now we come to the last few. Pick them to ensure that every major artist has a contribution to make in this program. But I couldn't leave out Luciano. And so I brought one of his top tunes to this program. Lord, give me strength.
Face another day. Carry on that road. Carry on my road. Give me strength, oh Jah, to carry on. Oh my Lord. Who art thou, young leader?
singer, powerful tune. We're into the last half dozen now. Come in a second. Thank God. One of the songs that I've always fancied very much, done by Morgan Heritage, Down by the River. I'm sure the ladies want to hear this song. Virtuous Woman by Walter King. We're down to the last four. This next song is for men and women. Yeah. And it's a good song for Jamaicans because it makes you feel like marrying again. It's the prettiest song that has ever been written by a Jamaican, in my opinion. She's royal. We'll soak up this one now.
Natural beauty. No lie, never been someone shy until I see the rise. Still I have to try. Yeah. Oh yes, let me get my words right. When I treat you like a man, it's supposed to. You never have to cry. No. I know everyone can relate to when they find a special someone. She's royal, yeah, so royal, yeah. I want her in my life. I never want one, so one of a kind. No, the way she moves to her own beat, she has the qualities of a queen. She's a queen. Ooh, but the natural beauty, no need no makeup, could be a cutie. She's a queen. She's a queen. I know they ask for a good woman's makeup.
That's really a beautiful song. It should be a beautiful song anywhere, not just Jamaica. Now, we can't close the program without addressing the youth. I don't see any. I'm disappointed I don't see any youth. You? Anyway, some other time we could have another session for the youth. Roots by Etana.
Them can't take my soul, you know.
Well, it would have sounded better on a better machine. And I'll blame him, the man behind the machine. This second to last one is by one of the really popular artists of today. And that is I'm on the Rock, I'm a Bot.
For me.
few words about this one. Every evening in West Kingston there was a concert. Every. Young people leave school, do homework, come over to the area that it was being held. Chuck them all out. And among them, practically all of them made it right through to being good artists. But among them was one known as Jimmy Cliff. And today, after all those years, Jimmy Cliff is still at the top of the ladder, along with Bob, and they're my favorite artists. And so I'm giving you the song that made him popular not only in music, but in film. The harder they come.
Tell me of a pipe up in the sky, waiting for me when I die. But between the day you're born and when you die, they never seem to hear even your cry. So as sure as the sun will shine, I'm gonna get my share now. What's mine? And then the harder they come, the harder they come, wanna go. Ooh, the harder they come, the harder they come, wanna go. Well, the officers are trying to keep me down, trying to drive me underground. And they think that they have got the battle won. I say forgive them, Lord, they know not what they've done. Cause as sure as the sun will shine, I'm gonna get my share now. What's mine? And then the harder they fall, the harder they fall. What I know. Ooh, the harder they go, harder they fall. What I know. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the musical part of this presentation. I only have two things to say about it. I'm an anthropologist, so I don't look at the surface, I look underneath. I ask myself the question, how did all this come about? And where have we reached with it? This came about, unfortunately, and please understand what I'm saying, not because of you. It came about because of who down south and who living in the rural areas. Just like athletics. It is the young people without the real opportunity for education that have put their talents to work and have produced these monstrous hits that can make Jamaica proud. And they've not only made Jamaica proud here, this music is what created two music styles that I don't like, but millions of people like them, rap and hip hop. Both of them created out of this music for millions and millions and millions of people to enjoy those. But nonetheless, wherever you go in this world today, and you identify yourself as a Jamaican, people hug you up. Down to a couple of days ago, I was reading in a newspaper about a gentleman with his children who was traveling in one of the subways in a European country. And when they heard him speak and said, "Where are you from?" he said, "Jamaica." They nearly stopped the train. A bunch of them get off and go and enjoy themselves. A party started. There's no way you can go in the world that if you call the name Bob Marley, they don't know who you're talking about. No, nowhere. There's no way you can go in the world that if you say Jamaica, you don't get respect due. What more can we want out of this exercise given to us by people who are not fully accomplished in any art, but they have a tremendous creative ability? I say due respect due to them. And so today, I like to do these sessions because I want one more thing to happen. We lost music that I love. I'm going to confess it to you, I don't like the music that they have now. I don't like it. If I can't whistle it, it's not music. So frankly, I'm one of those who's looking forward to a return of the real Jamaican music that you heard here this evening. To me, that is the real one. I'm looking for people now to call for it. The whole of Europe is full of dances and all kinds of things that are happening there with Jamaican music. Ska, rocksteady, everything. They've taken it away from us. Big music over there. The whole of southeast coast of the United States has 60 ska bands. 60 ska bands. And we sit down here and watch it dying. And not the fact, not even watch it dying, killing it. I must do better than that. We have something here that is gold, very precious. Why stand by and watch it die? Can't be done. I would have wasted my time in coming into politics if that is what I like. I can't do it. So I thank you very much for coming, and I hope that you have enjoyed it and that you leave here. I'm glad you're all here because when I sit and listen to this music by myself, I'm not ashamed, I cry. I cry because so many little people who have nothing else in life have been so wonderful in creating something for all of us to enjoy. And I say, my God, I made the right decision when I gave up my American citizenship for Jamaica.
I think that's a good note on which to wrap up. I would like, first of all, to thank Mr. Seaga once again for his world-class, first-class, outstanding lecture. I would like to thank the audience, which has been a knowledgeable audience. I would like to thank the Corporate Communications Department of the university for bringing us together, for the publicity, for organizing things. I would like to thank everyone who has helped to bring off tonight's lecture presentation. I would like to say a special word of thanks to the DJ, I don't know if that's what, yes, Mr. Junior Thelwell, lecturer in UTech. There was a time when I noted that he was singing to himself, "Lord, give me strength." And I would say to him, on behalf of the older generation, you don't cut wear you to the ball just before. Wow! Chicka bow! Chicka bow wow wow! But he helped us with the easy snapping, for sure. This is a university, and at universities we must deal with learning. Mr. Buju Banton has demonstrated that he's an excellent logician, murderer. Kill I today, you can't kill I tomorrow. Very logical. Musical youth exposed us to cultural phenomena. Pass the dutchie or the kochi on the left-hand side, not on the right-hand side. And Half Pint was an excellent grammarian. You don't pluralize ragamuffin with an S. This is a university and questions must be asked at university. So coming out of Mr. Seaga's presentation on the music, I would ask, in the song Wash Wash, what are they washing? Secondly, washing things. Secondly, in the song Sammy Plant Piece of Corn and so on, why did Sammy die? But a grudgeful make a grudgeful and then kill him. How does grudgeful kill a person? Thirdly, in the Desmond Decker song, Pour Me Israelite, who is Presser? Slaving for Presser. Who is Presser? And in the Sweet and Dandy, it's a perfect panda. What is a perfect panda? And in My Boy Lollipop, what is the lollipop? And this is a university, so we should have some commentary. And with respect to commentary, I will just say briefly, Mr. Seaga, thank you so much for reminding us that Michigan and Smiley went to a certain school, Kingston College. I would add that Lovendale went to that school as well. And I would note that we are happy to take Yellow Man as an honorary KC man because he so gracefully will accept his yellow baby. Tonight, I learned 4 things about Mr. Seaga that I didn't know before. First of all, him don't know what slim thing mean. Secondly, I can see why they used to call him Stylaga with the dancing. Thirdly, Mr. Seaga, I didn't know you were a set-on, you know, but I see you're setting on. Yes? And finally, I mentioned at the outset various things that Mr. Seaga had established or invented or organized. We now know that Mr. Seaga originated nude bathing in the grill. So, Mr. Seaga, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your exciting anthropological analysis, and we thank you for the whistle test that you have given us. We are proud of your achievements, and we are glad that you are a Jamaican. Thank you.